before understand the microbial pathogenicity, there are important terminologies which it will be helpful for understand the pathogenicity. The first is the saprophytes. These are the free living microbes that live on dead or decaying organic matter. They are usually found in soil and water and are generally unable to invade the living host. The another is the parasite. What are the parasites? These are the microbes that live on a living host, derive nutrition from the host and also cause harm to the host. This is very important, that these microbes, they live on a living host, they are deriving the nutrition as well as they are causing harm to the host. This is a difference between the commensal and the parasite. So there are two types of microparasites. The one is the bacteria, viruses, fungi and protozoa. As the name itself suggests, these are the microparasites. And another which can be seen on the naked eye, these are called macroparasite, and these are the helminths. Now another term is commensals. These are harmless microbes that harbor on a living host as a normal flora of the host without causing any injury to the host. So they are enjoying the nutrition but they are not causing harm to the host. So this is very important. Another terminology is pathogens. The microbes which are capable of causing disease, these are called pathogens. They represent only a very small proportion of the microbial world. Otherwise, most of the microbes, these are saprophytic in nature. Another is opportunistic pathogens. These are the microbes which can cause disease only in immunocompromised patients. So usually they are not pathogenic. They may be either in the form of normal flora or they are basically non-pathogenic. But when the situation arises, when the patient become immunocompromised, for example, the patient having metabolic disorders, having anti-metabolite drugs therapy as in the cancer patients or the diabetes, in these conditions they can flare up and they can cause disease only in these patients, and these are called opportunistic pathogens. Another term is infection. It is the process in which a pathogenic organism enters, establishes itself, multiplies and invades the normal anatomical barrier of the host, resulting in disease. So one is the entering into the host, another is they are attaching or establish itself. Then very important is the multiplication of the bacteria or other organism, and then they invade the normal anatomical barrier of the host, and they can it's a whole process resulting in the disease. So another term is infectious disease. When infection become apparent, result in clinical manifestation, it is called infectious disease. Another important term, that is colonization. Here the pathogenic organism enters, multiplies, but it does not invade the tissues and neither causes disease or nor elicit specific immune response. They are not the same as the normal flora. Why? Because they are usually not present as a normal flora, but sometimes by our exposure the organism can enter in our body, they multiplies, but they doesn't invade our tissues and they doesn't produce the disease, and that is called colonization. The commensals are limited to a particular anatomical site, for example intestine, respiratory and genital tract. When they enter through the other routes, they may behave as a pathogens. For example, Escherichia coli, E. coli, they normal flora in the intestine, but in the intestine they are normal flora, but these bacteria when enters through the respiratory tract, they can cause either colonization or infection. Another important term is infestation. It is distinct from infection in that it applies specifically to parasites of macroscopic size, that means we can see by our naked eye. Such parasitic worms in intestine or arthropods, example lice, itches, mites, etc., these are on the body surfaces. So infestation is basically we can observe by our naked eyes. The next one is the primary, here the type of infections. The one is primary infection. It is initial infection with a pathogenic microorganism in a host. So this is the first infection with just one microorganism. So initial infection with a pathogenic microorganism in a host is called primary infection. So the first time when by one microorganism infection occurs, it is called primary infection. Another term is reinfection. It is result of subsequent infection by the same microorganism. For example, a patient is already infected once with the one organism and again he is been treated, then on the second time he is again infected with the same microorganism. This is called reinfection. Another is secondary infection. The new pathogen sets up an infection in a host whose immunity is already lowered by a pre-existing infection. For example, sometimes in the upper respiratory tract infections, most of the time the upper respiratory tract infections are because of the viral origin. But because of the viral origin, the host immunity is compromised. Another bacteria, it comes over on this infection and this is called secondary infection. Another term, focal infection or focal sepsis. Usually we use the focal sepsis. It indicates a condition where due to infection at localized site such as in the appendix or tonsils, generalized effects are produced. Another is cross infection. This is very important. The hospital acquired infection is also a type of cross infection. When in a patient already suffering from a disease, a new infection sets up from another host or another external source. So in a patient who is suffering from a disease, then another new infection sets up from another host or another external source. It is called cross infection. So cross infection in the hospital is called nosocomial infection. So primarily patient is infected with the one bacteria or virus, but because of the hospital settings, either by the iatrogenic or by the doctors or by the hospital environment, if he gets another infection, the cross infection. The another term is nosocomial infection. So as I told you earlier, these cross infections occurring in hospitals are called nosocomial infections or hospital acquired infection or hospital associated infections. Another is important term, iatrogenic or commonly physician induced infection. So iatrogenic, what are the iatrogenic infections are? It refers to the infections induced by the professional activity of the physicians or healthcare workers resulting from preventive, diagnostic or the treatment part. So sometimes when you are doing, for example, diagnostic endoscopy, because of this endoscopy, if you give the infection in the patient or during the treatment or during the preventive, so too many reasons may be there where the physicians can induce infections. For example, a physician who is giving the antimetabolitic drugs, these patients are more prone to the infections, which is not common. These are from the commensals bacteria. Depending on the source of infection, we can divide infection into two. One is called endogenous, another is called exogenous. As the name itself suggests, the endo is from inside, exo means outside. Here the endogenous infection, the source of infection is within the body, either normal flora if breaches the anatomical barrier or endogenous reactivation of a latent infection. Here the source is ourselves. Here infection is in our body. Sometimes our normal flora, which is not pathogenic, but it breaches the anatomical barrier, so source is endogenous. Or sometimes there are infections, for example herpes virus, these are basically in the latent mode, but sometimes when the immunocompromised stage occurs, they reactivate and produce a infection. This is called endogenous infection. Another is exogenous. Exo is outside, source is outside. So here the source is outside, the host on body is called exogenous infection. So another type of infections are based on clinical manifestations they produced. One is called asymptomatic or inapparent or subclinical infections. Infection that is active but does not produce noticeable symptoms, these are called asymptomatic or inapparent or subclinical. So at the time the symptoms are not present, that's why it is called asymptomatic. There may be asymptomatic, they are inapparent, or sometimes there may be infection but it is in subclinical stage. Another is symptomatic or apparent infection. The name itself suggests it is acute infection, the symptoms last for a short period, or chronic infections persist for a longer period. Another important term is latent infection. It refers to an infection that is inactive or dormant or in hidden form. So initially the infection is inactive, it is in dormant stage or in the hidden form of the body, the symptoms are not present. But whenever some reasons, either for example immunocompromised patients, they are capable of reactivating later. Another important term is atypical infection. The usual manifestation of the disease are not present. Instead, atypical symptoms may be present. These are called atypical infections. So these were all the terminology which is very helpful to understand the microbial pathogenicity. The next part we will cover in another classes. Thank you very much. Thank you.